Do you understand that? So somehow it's interlocked with each other. It's a lot of stuff that goes on with all this Kemet teaching. They were some very wise people. And they wrote everything in a chronological order from one dynasty to the next dynasty that demonstrated who was what and what they represented.
So in Abdu, when we were there at the temple, part of it was even dedicated to Seshat. And we see her here with Ramesu. Seshat, as Ashra mentioned yesterday or the day before, was mistress of the house of architects. So she helped to lay the foundation for the temples. And our Seshat, because of her recording and vocalization and because of the writing of the deeds, that's why we gave Sister Ife the name Seshat, because the...
Sister Ife, you go, girl. Now listen. This young, beautiful woman right here, with this thing wrapped around her head, and these clothes that she's wearing, and the fact that she's where she at with all these people right here. If I walked up to her and I said, Sister, do you believe that the white man is detrimental to the survival of us as a people? She look at me and say, you know what, you didn't even have to ask me that. Of course he is. See the difference in the way she looked and the way those girls in New York look? This woman has knowledge of self. That's the reason why she's here reading this, to make sure that everything Merri ra or whoever wrote about being a characteristic of hers or a part of her composite, she wanted to be sure that everything was in order. This is the intelligence of us as a people. When you find these conscious women that I've been having the pleasure of talking to when I was in LA and different places, that you can't find them unless they're around African centers. They wear wraps around like this around, they like Eric Badu. They wear wraps like this around their hair, and you're not going to catch them out of pocket. You ain't going to catch them smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol and all that stupid shit. You know what I'm saying? Everything about them going to be divine and in a clean manner. Alright? This is the women that we need to return to our race, to our nationalism, so we can pick ourselves up and get going again. Women that has knowledge of self. Any woman walking down the street pushing a stroller with a white man baby in it that don't think that she's doing something that's destructive to her own cosmic makeup is just a woman without knowledge of self. Why are you pushing someone else's baby down the street, helping them to regenerate, and not pushing your own baby so you can have your own self-regeneration going on? There's something wrong with a melanated woman caring for a white man baby all damn day. After 500 years of slavery, that's what you are now? I mean, that's ridiculous. Even with my circumstances on the earth where I don't have anything and I need other people to give me somewhere to live and all that shit, it's not because I'm not capable of taking care of myself. It's because I'm under a circumstance where people deliberately make it impossible for me to feed for myself, because they see all this beautiful black skin as being a threat to that pale-ass, melanin-less skin. So they have to go out of their way and implement cruel, godless-ass policies of criminality to make sure that we don't do well. And that's why the cosmic forces are here to kill their asses. And don't think for 1 second I'm going to be a person that finds something wrong with that after all the bullshit I done had to go through on my earth and everything that I done seen happen to these beautiful women to make them take this wrap off and put on a stupid-ass European wig and walk down the street talking about the white man ain't a threat to me because I'm getting ready to go give his ass some head so I can keep my job. So when I get my paycheck, I could go give it all right back to him to pay for his high-ass electricity bill and his high-ass water bill and high-ass bread and high-ass gasoline and high-ass tires and panties and everything I need to survive. He done inflated the price of it so that I could be under his control. And I don't mind it because he's a good guy. He just didn't know what he was doing when he enslaved all us, but anybody can change. Well, you know what? That nigga need to change in jail while he's doing his time for the crimes against humanity. That's what he would do with anybody else that steal a pack of gum. This nigga stole a whole nation of people and murdered a whole nation of people. He's not going to get a pass on that shit.
Sisters looking over the scroll and trying to decide if the words that I wrote about her were correct. So
And when she said a scroll, it is a scroll, because we were the ones in Kemet who started giving diplomas to people rolled up with something wrapped around it. And then not only did we give them a roll up diploma, we gave them a compass and a square. And that's the same thing you Europeans give out at your graduating ceremonies. You get them that square-ass hat, that's the square. And then you get them that tonsil that hang over the hat, that's the damn compass. And then you give them their diploma rolled up just like a scroll. So you even stole that shit from ancient Kemet. Everything that you utilize, you stole it from us. Including your existence. You stole that from us. And then treat us all like shit all the time.
He's definitely a Seshat. Nebhet was called in the pyramid text Seshat, foremost of builders. And she was known as mistress of the house.
That's our said sister. Nebhet. Nebet. Nebthet. See? Nephthys too. You see the crown on her head that her sister has, but hers is turned upside down. You see that?
Her sister was a Set, who we just saw earlier with the throne on her head. Now a Set was married to the good brother Asar.
Asar. They were both good. It's just that in order for this story to make sense, they got to show you how good and evil always has to clash with each other, because they are polarities that bring life. You can't have sunshine all the time because we need rain too. But that doesn't make the rain bad. The rain is very necessary. So adversity and prosperity is both needed. So Asar is the god of prosperity, whereas Set is more like the god of adversity, but he brings adversity in the form of proving that through adversity you can become conqueror. And you can override the thought of temptation and all the pleasure, quest, and desires of the flesh, of the human physical part. Is always going to want you to smoke cigarettes, eat meat, and go screw and have carnal pleasures answered from the impressions in your heart. You can see right here the god Asar shows that he is the God Father, the true original Earth Father of all. You can see him all right there coming out of the lotus flower. Is the great God, Kemwer, Asar, as the God of all mankind on this earth. There he goes right there with his hat before the Pope stole it, with his flail and his crook that Jesus stole to demonstrate himself as being the good shepherd. All this stuff is ancient Kemet, our shit, that they plagiarized for themselves.
While Nebhet was married to the bad brother Set. And
Now what happened is one night Asar and Nebhet were out drinking, well not drinking but you know hanging out with each other, and Asar got it. The reason I said drinking is because they did drink beer and stuff like that. I said drinking because in the mythology they say that he got intoxicated on life, meaning that he was aroused by the beauty of his wife, wife. So they had an affair with each other, and they had a child named Anpu, Anubis, who later became the mummifier and the embalming hall. He became the mortician. Set had a problem with his brother Asar impregnating his wife. So this is the reason why the whole demonstration of all arising of knowledge is control thy thoughts. Because soon as Asar started having the type of emotions that he started having toward this man's wife, he should have backed off, but he didn't. So it shows you that even gods can make mistakes. Asar impregnated his brother's wife, and for that his brother killed him. But he was able to be resurrected because he was a great god. No one ever tried to condone him for what he did. Everyone knows that what he did was wrong, and he paid the cost for it because he got killed. But he resurrected again because he is a God of love. And the love that he had with this man's wife is what was a representation of, even if it is a good thing, if it's wrong, it's just wrong. And all actions has a consequence. So all these allegory stories around ancient Egypt is all based on the same type of drama, traumatic occurrences that went on in the Bible. But in the Bible, it's from front page to the end. And here, it's just a couple of times where they show you people getting off track. For the most part, they show you that everybody was divine, but even the divine people could fall off. That's what the whole teachings is about. Man, woman, know thyself. Know what you're capable of, and then you can control what you do. But you got to know thyself.
Het was known as the deity of silence and patience. She was associated with death, weeping, and sorrow, but she also protected mothers at childbirth. Then we had the protective deities, Wajet and Nekhbet. And you can...
Okay, Wajet is what I say, you wedge it. But Wajet is when you arise and that cobra stand up on your head. Okay, a lot of people say Wajet, a lot of people say you wedge it. But I think the proper way is the way Merri ra1 said it. But listen, you can see the serpent power energy coming off that snake right there with this cobra. And then it's got the vulture right there too, to show you as a snake can shed its skin and have a new life. That means that everything can change. The snake can change its ways and become new. That's what the whole story of Asar. Even the God did wrong, but acknowledging your wrong and learning from it and being able to move on is what our whole life is based on, having these experiences and learning what not to do by doing it and dealing with the consequences of doing that. And then you can say some things you only do once. That's if you learn something. But see, the vulture is the representation of that as the word. This thing has died, but even though it's dead, it's still life in it for the vulture, because the vulture looks for death so it can consume it and sustain itself from death. So the vulture can sustain itself from decadence by bringing new life to decadence. So the vulture is always a representation of the sister Nekhbet, as well as the god Asar, as well as the goddess Aset, because the goddess Aset is the counterpart of her goddess sister Nekhbet, meaning the both of them are one. And so since they control creation and recreation, they always come with this vulture and with this snake. The snake representing when my insides start growing so big where my skin can't contain it, I'll slide out of that skin and go on with a new life and a whole new coloration of fabric and patterns in my new skin. But you can find this old skin left back here somewhere, meaning I've become a new snake, which means I have resurrected. The vulture comes along and eats the dead carcass, and when it consumes the dead carcass, it goes inside of his body and gives sustainment to it. And since it's sustaining it, it is no longer dead. It has been regenerated, and it is now a living entity giving life force inside of this. By it consuming it, it gave life back to the dead, because the dead has to sustain it. And since it's designed by nature to eat death, the consuming of the death that it consumes brings life-giving force back to the dead, which the life-giving force is in the dead if you're something that can be sustained from dead. Now see, us as human beings, we're not sustained from dead. We just eat dead because it tastes good. There's no sustainment in that. Our true sustainment as meat eaters is the water and the sunlight and what little bit of vegetables we get on the side of all the dead meat we eat. The dead meat doesn't... If you don't eat meat within 72 hours, by the time you eat it, it's dead. There's no life force in it at all. Even a human body, when it dies, they say the life force, spirituality of it sticks around the body for 72 hours. The spirit sticks around the body, and then it bounces and go wherever its destiny is. That's the same thing with any meat that you kill. Now, we've been taught to freeze meat by Europeans, and they learned that when they was up in Europe, okay, where everything's snow cold. They found out that frozen meat lasts a long time. When we was in Africa, we had no reason to preserve meat. A lot of us didn't even eat meat. But most of the meat eaters, when they ate meat, they killed it and ate it the same day, because they knew that the life force would leave it within 3 days.
See them on the brow of the king when you saw the gold mask of King Tutankhamun. And it was through the strength of the Netert, or the African...
See this King Tutankhamun? See this? See how his name is spelled? T-U-T-A-N? You see the last name? K-H-A-M-E-N? My name, when I went to school, was spelled C.